When a baby is born, the correct response is, what beautiful news, unless it is 2025 and the mother of that baby is a celebrity who used a surrogate, in which case that new mother gets attacked by strangers for the way her baby came into the world. Welcome to Lily Collins' life. She is the star of Emily in Paris. She's the daughter of Phil Collins. And she posted a picture of her new daughter, Tove, a couple of weeks ago in a little basket under which she expressed in the caption her endless gratitude for our incredible surrogate. Now, I know you'll be shocked to hear that reaction was mixed. It split along pretty predictable lines, those in favour of surrogacy and the life-changing opportunities that it brings for people to become parents. So they were along the lines of congratulations, beautiful news comments. There were also those who accused Lily and her husband Colin McDowell of contributing to an unethical trend of lifestyle surrogacy, or as it's sometimes called, vanity surrogacy, and normalising commercial surrogacy, while others speculated about why she might need a surrogate in the first place. What we don't want to do today is to make assumptions about why any specific women, including Lily Collins, choose to use a surrogate, because every woman, even famous ones, has the right to medical privacy. And we know that we have outlouders who have used surrogates and who have been surrogates, and we wouldn't want to make any of you feel attacked for your choices. I was walking down the street the other day. I walked past a cafe and a woman called out to me and just said, "I love the show." And I said, "Oh, congratulations." She had a tiny little baby in a baby Bjorn in front of her. And I said, "Congratulations on your baby." And she said, "Yeah, it's a surrogate." I said, How old are they?" And she said, "Oh, it's a surrogate, but like 4 months." And I said to her, I was really struck by, she was almost apologising. And I said to her,
"Why are you telling me
Why
that?
are you telling me that? It's not like you're less of a mother," but clearly she felt self-conscious about it. And that made me feel really sad. So again, we don't want to sort of talk about any specific women, but it is hard to ignore the dramatic rise in the use of surrogates among famous women over the last decade. And like, I guess, any trend relating to women, it's worth unpacking some of the big feelings that people have about this issue. A little bit of context. Surrogacy is legal in Australia only in altruistic circumstances, so that means you can't get paid for it. But in America, it's legal for pretty much any use case. The baseline compensation is around $100,000 plus endless benefits. They could be wardrobe allowances, food, the sky's the limit, I guess. Some of the women who've used surrogates to help them become mothers in the last decade or so include Kim Kardashian, who used it for her third and fourth children after, she has said this, so I can repeat it. She said she had a medical issue called placenta accretia with her first two, and it became impossible for her to carry more children.
So I was reading about, and I think this is what's ignited the discussion, is that a disproportionate amount of rich, famous women are choosing surrogacy, right? And again, we do not know why, but some examples.
Although also we hear about those. We don't know
Of
how
course.
many high-flying attorneys or whatever might
Great
be
point.
also.
Sarah Jessica Parker, Nicole Kidman, Paris Hilton, Grimes, Khloe and Kim Kardashian, Priyanka Chopra, Rebel Wilson, Lucy Liu, Naomi Campbell have all reportedly used a surrogate. And of course, there's lots of reasons. There are health reasons. There are some women are unable to carry the pregnancy. Obviously, a same-sex male couple or a single male who wants to have a child.
Yeah, so Elton John, Ricky Martin, Neil Patrick Harris, they've all used surrogates to become parents because there is no uterus in those couples.
In LA, there are surrogacy concierges, surrogacy attorneys. Every agreement you can set up is different. So I've heard the Kardashians talking about it a lot. And Kim Kardashian says, the key to it is to make sure all the expectations are up front. So they negotiate out things like, is my carrier allowed to eat non-organic food? Kourtney Kardashian thought that it should be in their contract what television the carrier was allowed to watch, but Kim thought that was a little step too far. But there's a whole industry in places like LA that connect, the people who can pay for that kind of level of control with their surrogate, with their gestational carrier.
Yeah, it's an industry.
As you say, different reasons. So Kim and Chloe have been very upfront about their medical reasons. Paris Hilton was very upfront about saying she was just absolutely petrified of giving birth and pregnancy. And so for her, it was a mental health choice.
I have to be completely honest. I find the discussion of surrogacy and celebrity particularly really uncomfortable. Like I found Lily Collins, do what you like. I don't have an issue with that as a standalone case. But looking at surrogacy...
She'll be pleased to hear that.
and the normalising of it among a particular class.
Well, it's rich people because rich people can afford to outsource things.
And there was an article in The Guardian that just put words around it for me. It's by Martha Gill, and the headline is, "Sorry, Lily Collins, but when people outsource childbirth, their motives really count." And there was a line in it where she said, rational step by rational step, you can enter a dystopian world. And by that, I mean there are rational steps to surrogacy, just like there are rational steps to assisted dying, where you go, in this case, it is understandable. In this case, it might not be. And that's the thorny moral dilemmas that we come up against.
But we should explain a bit what the ethical concerns are, right? Because broadly it is that a sort of almost underclass of women are being paid to take the physical risks of pregnancy. That's the nut of the concern about the ethics, right?
Is that you can get, and there are cases, there was a case in Japan of a man who wanted 16 children and paid all of these surrogacies in different countries where they might have no other option to make money. And they take these enormous health risks. And then it words like human trafficking come up because these women have absolutely no rights. It can be seen as exploitation. And the concerns are that it would be a class of people who I've seen it referred to as luxury childbirth, because we know that pregnancy and birth is a health risk for anyone. So if that then becomes outsourced to women who
need the money,
are desperate.
And in Australia it's very different, to be clear. But,
yes.
And the UK actually.
Yeah.
If that then becomes normalised, and that's something that we're all doing when we...
What if it's your only way to become a parent?
Yeah.
Well, then I think that that's different. Exactly the same thing with assisted dying. If you come with a 19-year-old who's perfectly healthy who says, I want assisted dying, I have an issue with that. If you are someone who is 93 and you have no quality of life and you say, I want assisted dying, I'm like, great.
It's very much similar to the debate around if you can select gender for medical reasons, then why can't you do it for lifestyle reasons?
Well, I don't know if it is like that, because in that... Yeah, I suppose it is, right? When we're talking about
sort of ethical, moral...
Yeah, when technology or when new systems
Who gets
for
to decide?
Fertility exactly kind of intersect with a natural process, which I know that we've been doing this. There have been versions of this forever, and people I know who used a surrogate, they are brilliant parents and they have the most beautiful kids and the most beautiful family, and I can't imagine things without it. And I'm thinking, for example, of gay couples who couldn't have done it otherwise, and I have such respect for that decision. But if you're scared of childbirth, I struggle. I really struggle.
But so, I mean, I understand, and I do understand the ethical questions, and it is very often the fact that more vulnerable women are being paid for this. Probably not, to be honest, in the cases of the Kardashians and the Lily Collins. Those people are probably being paid extremely well, right, for what they're doing, and they probably have all the choices in the world. And as part of the surrogacy concierge attorney model I was talking about before, you can literally choose. You can flip through a book and choose, and there's competition to be a surrogate. So this all really comes down to supply and demand, right? To capitalism, Jessie, as we would probably put it. In that, I personally think that Australia and Britain and many countries like it probably have the right model where it's legal and it's legal and it's accessible, but you do it for profit. But then some states have different regulations. They say you do have to prove that you can't have a child of your own. And I think that's tricky because that isn't always a black and white thing. Some people can carry babies, but they can't necessarily give birth to babies. There are lots of different situations. And I guess my discomfort with the judgment comes back to that lady who stopped you on the street, Mia, is that if we're sitting around, when Lily Collins announces that she's had a baby and the first thing everybody does is sneer about, well, she didn't even want to get pregnant, when we have no idea about her personal circumstances, the person we're really hurting is that lady, the lady on the street who stopped Mia and felt the need to kind of say, oh, she's a surrogate. Like, I think that with that brush, we taint everything, and it's a much more complicated personal issue than that.
Or how as a society do we discuss an issue? It's kind of like the Botox thing, right, or the surgery. So we don't want to attack a specific woman for her choices, but if a whole lot of people are doing the same thing and at what point do we say, hey, is this what we're doing now? If we want to not interrupt our career, or if we're just scared of the pain of childbirth, or we
can't afford a career break.
Or we just want to, we don't want to have the disruption to our weight and our body. Is that what we're doing now? I think it's the disconnect with everyone going, oh, wait, is that what we're doing now? Because I hadn't caught up.
Yeah, Lucy Liu spoke about her decision and said it wasn't driven by any medical need. She said it just seemed like the right option for me because I was working and I didn't know when I was going to be able to stop. If working women, this is just going to widen the demand between the rich and poor, which is already getting wider and wider. But if you feel like your job doesn't allow you to slow down for 9 months or whatever to go and have that baby. I mean, firstly, women are doing it every day, and you read a statement like that and you go, well, everyone else's career has to stop for 5 minutes.
It's like, exactly. And if it's something that isn't considered attractive enough to be done by these women who earn a living by being actresses and famous.
Or the other thing that I read in a report
that's a messed up system.
That's unsubstantiated, but it was in a report that said there's been theories that for some of the women, in order to be in Hollywood, you need to have such low body fat that it is not possible for you to carry your own child.
There you go.
And so there's that element of it as well, which is an industry that needs examining rather than.
And I agree with all that, but it's just I'm uncomfortable with the speculation and assumption that comes along with this conversation to a point, because we don't know that that's why Lily Collins did. And the statement that her husband made where he said, you don't get to know about my wife's medical records, I thought was absolutely spot on. It is none of my business. And personally, I think Australia and Britain and places where surrogacy is tightly regulated have got it about right. But America, they turn over a whole lot of important health things to the private sector. That's the way they roll. And this is just another one of those.
I think there's going to be inevitable questions when people say, here's my baby, and they weren't pregnant.
And one thing we should say, we are all mothers of children. So, yes, we are speaking from a perspective of privilege. And if you are suffering from infertility and surrogacy, or the potential of surrogacy, is your only way of becoming a mother, I can get why this is a really hard conversation for you to listen to.